All of us back on social media, though, Facebook Live, YouTube. I know the Fausto is finishing up, concluding his two-part master course. If you go right to the CTU homepage, cybertradinguniversity.com, you can go right there. He's, in midway through right now, but if you register that way, at least you could receive the full recording afterwards. You can still join him live as well, just at this point. But with that in mind, though, I was like scanning the market with the market dropping off as much as it has been, just before this meeting started, looking for a couple of stocks that could be moving up. And I'll tell you what, this AUPH doesn't look half bad. Looks really decent, actually. Just broke higher a moment ago prior to this meeting beginning. For right now, we'll definitely put this on our watch list to begin. I didn't see any news out on this stock to start. I looked at that right before we started this meeting. Some like unusual options activity, some options call sweep that I ended up seeing. But that was it. No real fundamental news that came out. If anything, it seems like right around here, 871, 872, kind of like right around there. I slapped a quick line on the chart here, but that certainly seems like big resistance. It has a ways to go to get up there anyway, but I would assume for that just to be a really big level should it get that far. So yeah, AUPH we'll put on our watch list to begin. Again, I just pulled this up, so I don't have bookmap level 4 open for this yet, but we will, and we'll put the link for that just inside the live trading room at least after we finish up this meeting. All right, so this is looking good. The ASTI stock, though, this is like number 2 on the gainers list. Just because it's up big doesn't mean that we're going to look to follow it too much. It popped up earlier, got halted a couple of times on the way up. I think this right here could be a halt on the way down. Yep, right there is a 5-minute circuit breaker halt to the downside. And normally when a stock gets halted on the way down, that's a wrap. That's game over. Squeezing back up heading into the mid-afternoon here. And I'd called it out right off that squeeze, just saying, hey, it's like starting to move back up. That's all. Well, this stock has such thin liquidity and a big spread, just tiny volume all around on the bid and the ask, well, especially in this case, the bid, that it was a false breakout, failed to break the highs here, snapped right back down. And even more for that reason, I'm not a huge fan of this trade now at this point. So, just wanted to show this as well. It's up big percentage-wise, but we're not going to follow it just yet here. I'll tell you what, there's probably not going to be a whole lot that looks too attractive on the way up outside of AUPH. We'll skim through, though. We'll go from top to bottom here. Let's see what else we could put on our watch list. Hey, for anything else that moved up from earlier, we'll look to go over briefly. RBT. Nice little move up from this morning, seemingly breaking above 2 once the market opened up. Made like a 65, 70-cent move actually out the gate. Really strong move at first for this RBT. And then it ended up building this beautiful elongated Fausto flag. Sans this false pop here, but generally the lows were squeezing up. The highs were holding well here. And thankfully, from that level, right off of like 266, 267 or so, led to the nice clean pop that you would want to have. I'll tell you right now, it's hanging in there. It's off the highs, right? I mean, technical high of the day, like a second funky spike up like we had here. This one being off 339. But, in terms of the other highs here, it's holding well enough, right? So I'll put this on our list alongside that AUPH at least to start. All right, let's see what else we got here. QNGY popped up earlier today, but looking a little funky, a little spotty right now. Not a whole lot happening to it there. Kaba, I forgot about Kaba. Kaba made a really good move from earlier today. Rich was mainly calling this out inside our live trading room. I took a small break from the late morning, early afternoon session. I was following a couple of trades, but they were slow moving. And, once this was called out, I thought I was going to be chasing it, but it ended up continuing off the break of the highs here really well, roughly from that 156, 157. Right now it's making a lower high, right? Kind of shook down, a bit of a rounded top, lower high thing here, and pulling back down to support. So I'm not as keen to follow this just yet. This is the Kaba. Maybe I'll come back to this at the end. I shouldn't have clicked on this. It's a former runner, this stock, ALF. That's the only reason why I clicked on it so quickly. But yeah, it's a cheapie below $1. We're not going to look to follow that as much. it's crazy to see how far a stock drops after we are done playing with it, right? I mean, that thing took our eyes off from that initial move up. Peggy, hey, we haven't really taken our eyes off this stock much of late. It ended up having a few down days, but even on a couple of those days, it led to a nice little bounce here and there. Today, at least, it's up over 25%, trying to make the move back up towards 5. You could see it most recently tried to hold off the VWAP roughly around 474 as support. We're familiar with it, but we've seen the stock trade better volume per minute compared to what it's doing now. So, for right now, not fully sold on this one just yet. NGM, I'm not sold on this one either at this point. I was really looking for the bounce earlier here from the VWAP. If we get it now, better now than ever, right? But I was looking for the clean bounce from the VWAP area right here, and it just fell flat afterwards. For a stock that got crushed like this, we do look for that proverbial dead cat bounce to where it could try and fill part of the gap. But when the volume dies off on a stock like this, the stock typically drops pretty sharply after. So that's what happened heading into like the real early onset of the afternoon. So, if I can run from here, great. I'll come back to this at the end perhaps. And then otherwise, actually on my platform, I wasn't really thinking this as much throughout my day, but actually I'm realizing it right now. NGM is shortable on TradeStation today. Pretty interesting. But, I was looking more for the bounce at first there heading into the afternoon. Got SKLZ here. Stock we are pretty familiar with back from really the end of the pandemic into 2022. A couple of squeezes here and there. Ooh, nice move back up on FNGR. More of an afternoon move here. Definitely trading a lot more volume now than it was from like late morning, early afternoon at least. So yeah, squeezing on up pretty nicely up towards the 7 level again. You're assuming for that to be resistance. If I zoom in on the daily chart here pretty briefly, let's take a quick look. I mean, you can't really see too much of a historical top or bottom holding really strong. So let's just see. We're going to just do a little historical charting here, folks. 738, the weekly close back from the week of, we'll say, October 7th. Then the open the following Monday, the beginning of the next week on the 10th of last week, that was 759. I would definitely look for right around that 738-ish area as a major top. Should this look to make the break over 7? First, this has to try and clear 7 and then see if it can get up towards that 738-ish. But I don't mind it. That's for sure. I like it, if anything. So, all right. PXMD from earlier had thin volume, though, at first on the book and dropped off pretty sharply, as you could see. Speaking of dropping off pretty sharply, Hook, huge disappointment from after the market opened up. I mean, it was a great trade from pre-market. Really nice trade off the level we had called out, but that was all there was to that. Hey, Chuck did really well on Alcoa, right? Chuck Z did pretty nicely on this Alcoa AA. Ended up pushing up pretty nicely after the open. This thing was down, right? Wasn't this thing down early in the morning? I thought it was, at least. I thought it was on the losers list. No? Yeah, this thing was down big from yesterday's close early in pre-market. This made a full recovery and then some. Jeez, I didn't realize how much this thing had moved up percentage-wise on the day. It's still up nearly 7%, but I had this on our pre-market watch list because it was on the loser side. So very interesting to see some big volume getting filled of recent right here at 40, 65,000 share plus print, and then a 31, like nearly 100,000 shares just got filled there right off the 40 level. So looks pretty interesting, trading a lot of volume still per minute. So Alcoa, why not? Why not? Looks pretty good. All right, so we got 4 good stocks on our watch list here, folks, to begin. Again, just as a recap, we have the AUPH. We started off with that. The Finger FNGR trade, Alcoa, and then also the RBT, which, we'll jump back to. But for right now, that's on our list. AT&T, moving up a little bit. Side list stock for right now. All right. Am I forgetting anything on the gainer side here? There's not much else that looks like name brand or familiar name otherwise that I missed, I don't think. All right, we'll hop over to the losers list. Even, hey, heading over to the loser side with the market down as much as it has been from the morning, we have a good list so far. right? TALS is down big. It actually is shortable on my platform, but I didn't even really look at this trade much at all today. Maybe once from the early morning, and I kind of moved on from it pretty quickly. Ended up beginning to move up a bit, but not a whole lot since, right? This LMAO stock, I gotta say it. It's a pun, and it came right off the top of my head here, but I don't think anyone's really laughing their ass off today on this LMAO, right? Down over 34% right now. And I mean, hey, we talk about it all the time. What makes the top percent gainers list one day often, very much so often, makes the percent losers list. All right, just skimming the losers list here otherwise. And I mean, there's definitely a lot that's down big. Allstate ended up dropping off quite a bit here today. Pulled back a little bit now at this point, down over 12%. A little expensive, though, for our liking. Let's see what else we got here to cap off the loser side. There's definitely a lot more that's down big. Hey, really quick, folks, let me just jump to this now while I'm ahead. And then for any one of us here, like Andre, Leda, Michael, Steve, or any one of us on YouTube, Facebook Live, if you folks have anything for me, definitely let me know in a bit. But, hey, why not spread the tip around, right? So, hey, I mentioned this from a couple of days back in terms of my Mara swing and anticipating a drop off in the market. I got out of Mara because of a couple of folks I follow on Twitter and, folks I put some weight into. And, hey, it ended up dropping off quite a bit, right? Well, this is a new account that I ended up following yesterday, and I don't follow just anyone, mind you, right? It's got to be legit. So this account, Cheddar Flow, what they actually do is they specialize in unusual options activity and dark pool prints. So more or less, the bigger the signal that they show, then the more meaningful the price is, just like we teach in class. All right. Well, this morning at 10:34 this morning, it was signaled that there was $300+ million. It was close to 400 million if you do the math in dark pool prints on the Qs, but it was roughly at these two prices, 274.52, 274.33. Why do I bring this up? Well, that was at 10:30 in the morning, my friends. You can see how well resistance held after. And if that's such a big level, I'd like to think the stock's going to make a pretty big move after. Obviously, the Qs here are an ETF, but that's my famous catchphrase, right? So, with that, I was anticipating a drop off within the market. And with that, I've been short on NEO since the morning here. It's been really nice. I'm out on most of the position because it's just been so slow. I did get out right off the closing bell print from yesterday. That's like right here off 1092. Got a lot of meat off the bone on this trade. I'm still in on partial position, but it's a side list stock for right now. I'm not going to feature this on the main list just yet. There's a lot that looks like this though, right? UPST, for as much as it popped earlier, dropped quite off after. Affirm, same deal. Just all stocks that are good trades on the side list. If you do well on any of these in particular, I'm sure that you'll be more inclined perhaps to follow it. American Airlines right off the lows right now, down nearly 4%. Looks good. So, none of these I'm really going to feature on the main list, but if you personally do well on any stock that's just trending with the market really nicely here at this point, hey, I'm sure you're going to be more inclined to follow it. BTU, actually, I'll tell you what, BTU, we're going to put on our watch list here. Happy I just ran into this again. So BTU, if I'm not mistaken here, hopefully Rich wasn't mistaken with it. I think BTU got halted, right? And Rich is usually correct with that, and he is. So looks like they were halted off of news pending earlier today at 11:08 Eastern time. BTU Peabody Energy says it has not issued earnings from the quarter ended September 30th. They did not issue earnings today, so I guess there was speculation that they were going to be reporting. I guess that was it. It's my first glimpse at the news. But nonetheless, I mean, hey, off of a halt, news pending, there could be more eyes on this trade. It's down, that 4%. It's right off the lows. So if anything, I don't mind slipping this one in particular, the BTU trade on our list. Looks like a pretty simple trend to follow for right now, right? All right, folks. Let me know if there's anything else that you would want me to check out. Up, down, left, right, more than 5%. Andre, the Rev trade, Revlon. That's one that we've done well on in the past. There's not a whole lot to look at on this one, Andre, unless if you can short it, but this is like super illiquid. I don't think it's even halted. It looks like it is halted, but I don't think it is. Mike says that AT&T, probably a better swing trade than a day trade, but worth watching with a gap up. Well, if the markets keep falling off, I wouldn't necessarily expect T to squeeze up any higher than it has been so far. So in hindsight, it could be easy to say from 15, once it broke back above that level and held it as support, it's been a nice swing trade from there. But otherwise, with the way the markets have been trending here today, and perhaps my thought of continuation of that downtrend over time, I got to be very particular about looking for any sort of swing. You'd have to look for like a really short-term swing, like an overnighter or like 2-day move, if anything. That's why I got out on Mara at least right around the 1150 level yesterday. But, hey, today it's up over 7.5%, popped up early this morning. Like I'd said before, it's a sideless stock for right now. It's not really doing much of anything here from the last hour or so. All right, folks, let me know anything else. Just trying to look for stocks right near the highs or lows at this point, honestly. So KPLT got a ping on right now from one of our trial members, actually, through chat. Hey, look to put that in the trading room. It's not a bad call out right there. It's up over 27%. It is starting to inch back up right now. I just wish that this thing was trading a lot more volume per minute than we're seeing here. So hopefully that can pick up over time. But you know what? It doesn't look half bad. KPLT. That's from Peter, one of our trial members. How about that? So great call from Peter. Latest is Alcoa recovering after disappointing earnings. So that one's already on our list. We had that one early on, holding over that 40 level that we had mentioned briefly. Snap from her side list. Yeah. I mean, it's a little slow, though. So the question is, for as much as it dropped off already, even if the markets break lower, this might not be as good of a trade as it was from the early afternoons. So you want to follow a stock that has really good liquidity, but not too good, right? Because that can make it a little hard for the stock to break through that volume. That's why even like NEO, I'm in from earlier, but I'm not going to try and, emphasize that as a great trade for the afternoon because I think it's like a little too slow now. Right? There we go, Leda. She says, Leda D, one of our longtime students here, she had said, Snap not as snappy these days, perhaps prepping up her Friday riddle for us. All right. Folks, I think we're going to call it right now for any one of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube. Why are you listening to me? Fausto is doing a live webinar right now. Now, I joke around when I say that at least. But honestly, Fausto is doing a live webinar right now, part 2 of his master course. So if you go right to the CTU homepage, cybertradinguniversity.com, without the trial there, like you see on the bottom, if you just go right to our homepage, just simply register for the event. And I know that he's finishing up in about 10 or so minutes, but you're going to be able to receive the recording that way. That's the only way that you could at least watch it back in full. All right, folks. But again, if you have any other questions, otherwise, feel more than free to send over a quick email. My email here at the end of these streams, as always, josh@ctutrading.com. But, I'll tell you what, for right now, we have a really good list, folks. Let me just check back in on the 2 I said I was going to check back in with, the sideless stocks. CABA and then NGM. NGM's not doing anything here. I'm going to pass on it right now. The CABA, though, is a little closer to said highs. So if I'm putting KPLT on our list for right now, I may as well put CABA here for right now as well. Not too big of a watch list, about 7 stocks to work with in total, folks. All right, folks, with that in mind, enjoy the rest of your day on social media. For all of us inside the live trading room, Leda, Steve, Michael, Andre, etc. Rich will be on the mic coming up in just about 10 minutes. I will be here in the chat up until 3:30. But otherwise, folks, best of luck trading here heading into the market close. Talk to you soon.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9. Do it today.